Our topic is government intervention in international business. Our team members are Anna, Cindy, Tina, and me, Lucy. Let's start our drama. Hi, I'm Sal, representative from American ABC Company.
Hello, I'm Richard from China. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too.
Our business eventually explored ways to work.
I have heard your good reputation and I am interested in your products. Could you give me your catalog?
Sure, let me. Here you are.
Thank you.
Let me introduce our brilliant product for you. Number 1, 2, 3 is good for your health and can make sausage. Number 4, 5, 6 are suited for dry meat.
Oh, sounds good. I have ordered all of your products.
Deal.
Stop. Taiwan's government, because we have set provision about regulatory remain standard, so you have to follow our regulations. We allow you can import meat to Taiwan, but you have to go through our custom inspection and get import permission.
Okay, we understand.
We will follow your regulations.
Hope we have a good cooperation.
Thank you. Let's start our presentation. Government intervene in trade and investment to achieve political, social, or economic objectives. And government impose trade and investment barriers that benefits in interest groups, such as domestic firms, industries, and labor unions. Government intervention alter the competitive landscape by hindering or helping the ability of firms to compete internationally. Government intervention is an important dimension of country risk. And from this picture, we can see how increasing free trade translates into expand production possibility frontiers, moving from PPF1 to PPF2. Let's use Poland as an example. Over time, Poland lowered trade barriers and participate more freely in international trade, adopting the principle of comparative advantage. As Poland expanded its free trade, the country focused on producing and exporting goods. It was best suited to produce and importing those goods that other nations produce more efficiently. The end result was Poland's PPF for products and services shift outwards. And this is international business risk. International business risk has 4 risks: cross-cultural risk, commercial, currency, and cultural risk. And this is government intervention. First, protectionism. National economic policies that restricts free trade, usually intending to raise revenue or protect domestic industry from foreign competition. Custom. The checkpoint at national ports of entry where officials inspect imported goods and levy tariffs. Tariff, a tax on imported. Non-tariff trade barriers, government policies, regulation, or procedure that impeded trade. Quotas, quantitative restriction on imports of a specific product. Investment barriers, rules or laws that hinder foreign direct investment. And government intervention affects the normal operation of economic activity in a nation by hindering or helping the ability of its endangered friends to compete internationally. Company, labor unions, and other special interest groups often convince government to adopt policies that benefit them. For example, in the 2000s, the Bush administration imposed tariffs on the import of foreign steel into the U.S. The rationale was to give the U.S. steel industry time to restructure and revive itself following years to decline due to tough competition from foreign steel manufacturers. The action may have saved hundreds of U.S. jobs. On the downside, however, the tariff also increased production costs for firms that use steel, such as Ford and General Electric. Higher material costs made these firms less competitive and reduced prospects for selling their product in world markets. The steel tariff was removed within 2 years, but in the process of attempting to do good, the government also did some harms. Another example of intervention was the U.S. government's response to the growing threat of Japanese car import in the 1980s, when it established voluntary export restraints on the number of Japanese vehicles that could be imported into the U.S. This move helped insulate the U.S. auto industry for several years. However, in a protected environment, deterrent automakers have less incentive to improve quality, design, and overall product appeal. Thus, government intervention motivated by prohibitions has been one of several factors weakening deterrent ability to compete in the global auto industry. Protection policies may also lead to price inflation because tariffs can restrict the supply of a particular product. Tariffs may also reduce the choice available to buyers. And this is consequence of protections. Reduce supply of goods to buyers. Price inflation. Reduce variety, fewer choice available to buyers. Reduce industrial competitiveness. Various adverse unintended consequence.
General rationale for government intervention. The first, tariffs can generate substantial government revenue. This is a key rationale for protectionism in development economies. And the second is helps ensure the safety, security, and the welfare of citizens. For example, most countries have basic regulations to protect the national food supply. The third is helps the government pursue broad economic, political, and social objectives for the nation. The fourth is can serve the interests of the nation's firms and the industries. Defensive rationale for government intervention. The first is protection of the national economy. Weak or young economies sometimes need protection from foreign competitors. For example, is India imposed barriers to shield its huge agricultural sector, which employs millions. The second is protection of an infant industry. A young industry may need protection to give it a chance to grow and succeed. For example, is Japan long protected its car industry. The third is national security. The United States prohibits exports of plutonium and similar products to North Korea. The fourth is national culture and identity. Canada restricts foreign investment in its movie and TV industry. The offensive rationale for government intervention. The first is national strategy priorities. Protection helps ensure the development of industries that foster the nation's economy. The second is increased employment. Protection helps preserve domestic jobs, at least in the short term. However, protected industries become less competitive over time, especially in global markets, leading to job loss in the long run. These types effects of government intervention. And the first is tariff. Definition is tax imposed on imported products. Practical effect on customers, funds, or government is increased cost to the importer, exporter, and so on. Discourage product imports. Generates government revenue. The second is quota. Quantitative restriction on imports of a product during a specific period of time. Give early imports multiply power and the ability to charge higher prices. The third is local content requirements. Require minimum percentage of locally sourced inputs in the production of given products or service. The practical effect is increased cost to the importer, exporter, and so on. Discourage product imports, generates government revenue. Subsidies. Franchising all other resources that a government grants to a fund or of a group or to ensure their survival or success. The practical is increases the competitive advantage of the grantee while diminishing the competitive advantage of those that do not receive the subsidy. Countervailing duty. Require minimum percentage of locally sourced inputs in the production of given products or service. Increased cost to the importer. Increased cost to the importer, exporter, and so on. Discourage product imports. Generates government revenue. Anti-dumping duty tax charges on and imported product whose price is below usual prices in the local market of below the cost to manufacture the product. Practical is reduce or eliminates the competitive advantage of imported products priced at abnormally low levels. This is a sample of import tariffs. The European Union applies tariffs of up to 215% on meat, 116% on cereals, and 133% on sugar and confectionery products. Japan maintains average tariffs for non-agricultural products at low levels. Under the North American Free Trade Agreement, Canada, Mexico, and the United States have eliminated nearly all tariffs on product imports from each other. However, Mexico maintains significant tariffs with the rest of the world. 21.5% for agricultural products and 7.1% for non-agricultural goods. India's tariffs are relatively high, especially in agriculture where the rate is 31.8%. China has reduced its tariffs since joining the World Trade Organization in 2001, but trade barriers remain high in some areas. Average tariff rates over time. Average tariffs have declined over time simultaneously, as shown in the exhibit. World gap and especially world trade have flourished. Decreasing trade barriers are a major factor in the growth of global commerce and consequently in rising incomes around the world. Firms that participate actively in international trade and investment not only improve their performance but also contribute to reducing global poverty.
Tariffs are widespread. The amount of tariff is determined by examining a harmonized code. Products are classified under about 800 different unique codes in the harmonized tariff or harmonized cost schedule. A standardized system used worldwide. Imposed tariffs can generate substantial revenue for national governments. This helps expand why they are common in developing economies. Even in advanced economies, tariffs provide a significant source of revenue for the government. The United States charges tariffs on many consumer, agricultural, and labor-intensive products. Imposed tariffs have been declining. Because high tariffs inhibit free trade and economic growth, governments have reduced tariffs over time. This was the main goal of the GATT, which became the WTO. Economic integration also leads to lower tariffs, but only within economic blocks. For example, under NAFTA, Mexico eliminated nearly all tariffs on the U.S. imports, but maintains tariffs with the rest of the nations. Firms bypass tariffs by entering countries via FDI. For example, Toyota builds factories in the U.S. partly to avoid tariffs. Subsidies are government grants to companies intended to ensure their survival or success by facilitating production as reducing prices or encourage exports. Grants include cash tax grants, infrastructure construction, or government cash contracts at inflating prices. Related to the subsidies are government investment incentives, transfer payments, or tax concession to attract foreign companies to invest in the country. For example, Hong Kong's government puts up most of the cash to build the Hong Kong Disney Park. While the park facility costs about 1.81 billion, the government provides Disney an investment of 1.74 billion to develop the site. Economic freedom. Economic freedom is the absence of government coercion, so that people can work, produce, consume, and invest however they want. The index of economic freedom based on the rule of law, trade barrier, level of business regulation, and other standards. Economic freedom flourishes with suitable intervention. Too much regulation will damage the economy. This picture shows the degree of economic freedom for each country in 2013. From this data, we can know all the advanced economy as free, the area of dark green. And all the emerging markets are either free or mostly free, the area of dark or light green. And the developing economy as mostly unfree or repressive, the area of orange or red. Import substitution is a policy of restricting imports in order to protect home country companies. Governments should impose high tariffs or quotas from the developing work to limit the import. Export-led development encourages the export-intensive industries, which led many countries to raise their economic growth and high living standards. This is an evolution of government intervention. A century ago, trade barriers worldwide were relatively high. The trading environment worsened through two world wars and the Great Depression. In 1938, the United States passed the Smooth-Hawley Tariff Act, which raised United States tariffs to near record high of more than 50%, compared to only 3% today. In 1947, 23 nations signed the GATT, the first major involved to systematically reduce the trade barriers worldwide. The GATT reduced the tariffs via continuous worldwide trade negotiations, created an agency to supervise world trade, created a meeting for resolving trade disputes. The GATT introduced the concept of multiple nations by which each member agrees to tariff reduction covered in the trade agreement with one country to all countries. Finally, the GATT was replaced by the WTO in 1995 and grew to include about 150 member nations. The organization proved extremely effective and resulted in the greatest global decline in the trade barriers.
Next is market liberalization in China. In 1949, China relied on centralized economic planning, agriculture, and manufacturing were controlled by inefficiency, state-run industry. The country remained relatively close to international trade until the 1980s, when it began to liberalize its economy. In 1992, China joined APEC, a free trade organization similar to the European Union. In 2001, it joined the WTO and committed to reducing trade barriers. Trade has stimulated the Chinese economy. By 2008, its GDP was more than 10 times in 1978 level. Now, China has become a level exporter of manufactured products. Market liberalization in India. Since gaining independence from Britain in 1947, India adopted a quasi-socialist model of isolation and strict government control, high trade and investment barriers, state intervention in level of financial markets, a large public sector's heavy regulation of business, and the central planning all contribute to the nation's poor economic performance over several decades. In the early 1990s, India began to open its market to foreign trade and investment. Protectionism has declined, but FDI limitation and high tariffs are still in place. Bangladesh is a major clothing exporter that has high tariffs. Here, women work in the center of garment manufacture at Dhaka. The crisis raises new questions about government's roles in business and the world economy. It arose largely from inadequate regulation and the enforcement of current regulations in the banking and the finance sectors. Governments around the world are increasing regulations way to improve enforcement. For example, United States government increased the power of its Treasury Department, the Fed, and the FDIC. The European Union increased oversight of multinational banks and financial institutions. Some governments increase protectionism. Governments increase diversity. Research and gather knowledge and intelligence. Scan the business environment to identify the measure of government intervention. Choose the most appropriate entry strategy. Most firms choose exporting as their initial strategy, but if high tariffs are present, other strategies should be considered. Taking advantage of foreign trade zones. FTZs are areas where imports receive preferential tariff treatment intended to stimulate local economic development. Seek favorable customs classification for export products. Reduce exposure to trade barriers thereby ensures that products are classified properly. Take advantage of investment incentive and other government support programs. For example, 1. The government of Hong Kong put up much of the cash to build the Hong Kong Business Park. 2. Banks received several $100 million in subsidies to build a plant in the United States of Burma. Incentives can also include reduced utility rates, employees training programs, tax holidays, and the construction of new road and communication infrastructure. Lobbying for the fair trade and investment. And let's play again. Please choose the correct answer. Oh, what does it mean? Anxious.
Tariff.
Đồng giao答。哎，一个人一组，一个人一组，把两个人好来。这题，错。第二题是
哇，
第三题。
越来越简单。
这题是手。第五题。知道答案吗？
个